This was an explosion that occurred about late in the morning in a large apartment complex. The gentleman attempted suicide by filling his apartment with gas, which then ignited. Fire erupted very shortly thereafter. Ambulance men arriving there, engines have just arrived and have set up hose lines. Ambulance crew to the right are picking up an injured person who turned out to be the man who attempted suicide. Nobody knew at this time whether there were any or how many other occupants under that rubble. It turned out that the gentleman who set the explosion off died, but he was the only one in the complex at the time of the explosion, fortunately, so there wasn't anybody else injured. But it was a very uncomfortable feeling for the men to see that much damage and that much fire without knowing whether anybody else was trapped. A second alarm was called on this fire, which brought a total of 4 engines and a ladder truck. I believe this was the first fire where a 4-inch feeder hose was used in Santa Rosa. Long, tedious job to uncover the ruins. Title, this doesn't have a title. This is a barn fire, typical barn fire, early morning, southwest of Santa Rosa, again with several departments involved: Bellevue, Roseland, Hessel, Two Rock. Barn fire of this type, of course, is extremely difficult to handle. Once the bales of hay start to burn, it's almost impossible to put them out without taking every bale of hay out separately. Water supplies are non-existent other than from tankers. So usually these turn out to be battles lasting many, many hours, and more often than not, the barn is lost. They're attempting to move bales from the barn. Fire had spread all across the peak area of the barn, involved the bales up near the top. Lots of mud around a barnyard, another hazard. Sun's just rising. Again, a wide variety of tankers, mostly homemade. I'm uncertain whether they eventually put this fire out and saved the barn, but I believe they did. This was a Firestone tire warehouse. Very rapid moving fire. Quickly consumed the contents. Just outside Santa Rosa in Roseland's district, but Santa Rosa gave mutual aid. Santa Rosa's ladder truck, which is now Truck 2. It has since been upgraded with the cab put in place and a diesel engine put in, and now runs as our second truck. They attempted to put up a ladder pipe, didn't have very good water pressure, and by that time most of the contents of the building had burned anyway. There's a large pile of tires alongside the warehouse, and they caught fire. They had to be dragged away more or less individually in order to put the fire out. Directly behind the pile of tires was the inlet and gauge for the gas supply, which was burning. Made an extremely hot blowtorch type of a fire. And the gas company eventually had to come and dig a trench out in the field next to the building to find the main gas line and pinch it off so that could be put out. Local citizens. This was a night fire in a lumber mill, a steak mill up in Healdsburg, north of Santa Rosa. Apparently started along the edge of the mill in a field and spread rapidly into stacked piles of steaks, and then spread through the mill building, so that eventually the entire mill was involved. Multiple departments with Healdsburg and Division of Forestry being in charge. This amount of fire, why, extinguishment is almost impossible, and it was a question of trying to save exposures and what wasn't burning. This picture was taken inside a shed looking out, where the firefighter is trying to cool the roof of the shed down to keep the fire from involving that structure. Piles of wood burning. Brought in some loading apparatus in an attempt to pick up and drive away with the uninvolved piles of stakes and other lumber. Again, the main supply of water for fire of this type was tankers, although I believe they had some on-site water supply also.